Hello there, I'm LaShawn Morse, and I'm here to talk with you about using question stems in your classroom. Even more, hopefully, to help you create an environment where your students will start to use question stems as well. This all started for me when I realized I was asking all of the questions, and the students were not asking any. Even when I asked that all-time teacher favorite, "Are there any questions?" the students were not participating in the conversation in a way that I had hoped. I realized that a different strategy was needed. I realized that asking, "Are there any questions?" was not quite the invitation to participate that I was hoping for. In fact, even with adults in staff development or meetings, that question has come to represent a couple of different things. First, a time when you're being released to work independently or in groups, as in, "Are there any questions before you get to work?" In that moment, many teachers actually expect that if the participants were paying attention to the instructions, there won't be any questions. This question has also come to mean that time is almost over. In this moment, anyone having a question will only delay the group being released to leave. This time it's not the teacher who expects there will be no question. This time it's the other participants in the audience who will hope that no one will ask a question that will delay them getting to leave. I realized that if I wanted my students to ask better questions, and I wanted to build a culture where asking questions was not only encouraged, but the expected way to behave, then I needed to set up a situation where they learned how to ask those questions in a structured way. I found a web article called "How Do I Get My Students to Ask Questions?" I realized that this approach to questioning was perfect for what I needed in my classroom, but I would need more structure. My students were going to need specific ideas on how to ask the questions and which questions to ask first. So I created a question stem matrix. By passing out paper question cards, I was able to start off with one or two question types at first. Each student had their own question type that they were responsible for during the class discussion. Next, I added ways for students to ask questions online or on paper so that students were able to participate with the questioning strategies without having to be verbal in class for the first few days. As students became more and more comfortable asking effective questions, I added more types. As a class, we created anchor charts that we could hang on the wall to remind ourselves of the question matrix, and eventually we were having more and more productive classroom discussions. If you are curious about the question stem matrix or want to learn more about building a culture where asking questions is not only encouraged, but the expected way to behave, then go to the PD Byte question stems, when, how, and why. From there, you have access to the question stem matrix, key articles, and other resources that will help you create additional question stems under each category, or even create new categories of questions that suit you better. If you do create your own, please share them with me. The more we share, the more we grow. Thanks.